From San Francisco, California, this is the Rock and Roll Geek Show. This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today is Sunday, August 6, 2017 when I'm recording this show. And as you can hear by the wind, I'm outside. It is about 3:15 p.m., something like that. I'm outside because I'm going to open my mail. My mail happens to be outside. I'm in the backyard. I brought it outside because my wife is inside vacuuming. And I need to be outside when I'm doing this episode, because what I'm opening is something I got from Amazon. Let's open it up here. Hermetically sealed box. And inside this box is an Atwood T500 recirculating live well aerator kit. This thing is, what it does is pumps water out of the ocean into a live well. So I'm gonna be making a live well for my kayak. I was gonna buy one. Hobie makes a live well for the kayak, but it's $300 and something, and you can't find them. They're like on back orders. And there's a bunch of videos how to make them on YouTube and all over the internet. So that's what I'm going to do. And that leads me to what I'm going to be talking about on this episode of day 6, or is it day 7 of the Dog Days of Podcasting. I'm going to be talking about my kayak obsession real briefly. I'm going to try to do it within 10 minutes. First of all, let me take a sip of this fine Tecate. That's good. If you listened yesterday, you know I was sick and woke up today. I took 3 olive leaf extracts before I went to bed, and I passed out at like 8:30 and woke up and felt pretty much back to normal. So I'm feeling a lot better. I'm good enough to drink a beer. So I'm drinking a fine Tecate, and boy, that tastes like the best one of the day so far. So I got into kayaking. I went to it was last year, about October, I went to visit my stepfather in Georgia. Went to go hunting, I think. Did I go hunting? Yeah, I believe. Wait a minute. It was around November, I think. It was because it was hunting season. I went to visit my stepfather and my friend Darren in Florida because we were going to go deer hunting with a bow and arrow. And when I was with John... Sorry, unlocked the microphone. When I was with John, my stepfather, he had a kayak, and we all went kayaking. And he goes fishing from his kayak in Florida. And one trip on the kayak, and I kind of got way into it. So I started looking around for kayaks in San Francisco. I got on the NorCal Kayak Anglers group. I Googled kayaks for sale on Craigslist in San Francisco, and then some Google results came up with the NorCal Kayak Anglers group, which is a group of kayakers in Northern California. They all hunt, they all fish on their kayaks. So when I got back home, let me cover up the mic. When I got back home, I went looking for kayaks, and my stepfather said you can get a kayak for like $250 at Walmart. I guess that's what he got, but I started doing more and more research on them and found out they're not that cheap. You can find them used, but if you want to go out in the ocean, which I do and did, because I wanted to go crabbing in the kayak because it was crab season and a lot of people were catching crabs from the kayak. If you wanted to go out in the ocean, you had to get a bigger kayak and one that was more money. So I started looking, and first thing I did was I got on Craigslist and I booked a guided crab and fishing trip. And so it was in Bodega Bay with this guy, I don't remember the guy's name, Dennis Spike or something like that. And so I went up to Half Moon Bay, not Half Moon Bay, Bodega Bay, Doran Beach. And he tried to cancel on me, but he said, "Oh, I can't. It's too rough out. We can't go fishing, but I can take you I can take you crabbing." So I just said, "Okay, you could take me crabbing, and you could owe me the fishing trip." So we went out crabbing, and I had I had an old crab trap that I had bought a long time ago when I used to throw the trap off of the pier and we'd catch rock crabs, which was not the greatest thing to do, but it was fun anyway. And I went out there the day before to Dorian Beach or Bodega Bay and tried to catch crab, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. The next day I went out with him and we got limits in probably maybe an hour and a half. We got like 10 crabs each. And from then on, I was hooked. So I immediately went out and bought a kayak. I bought a Wilderness Systems Tarpon 120, and it was $1,000. It was like $990 at REI Sports, and so I got into it. And so after that weekend, I went out as much as I could on my own. I bought some crab traps and went out of Half Moon Bay. Waves were, out of Half Moon Bay, it's the actual ocean, and there's waves like it can get up super high. But I started going out. I'd tag along with other kayakers, and I joined the kayak anglers group on the internet, and found people who were going. So I tagged along with them and got really, really into it. I had this. I'm out standing. Reason I'm outside, I'm standing here looking at these kayaks. So the one that I bought was it's blue. Looking at it now, and the thing that kind of intrigued me about the kayaks was you can modify these things. You look on the internet, there's all kinds of kayak modifications. People drill holes into them. They put all kinds of shit in them. So what I looked around. I put 2 rod holders in the back here. You had to drill holes into the kayak, and then you mount these rod holders, flush mount rod holders. I did that. I built a fishing kit out of a milk crate with some rod holders on it. I rigged up some kind of thing to hold crab traps that was removable out of PVC pipe. There's like tons of modifications on the internet what you can do with PVC pipe on the kayak. And this Wilderness Systems has these track bars on top, so you can mount all kinds of like accessories like rod holders and fish finders, all kinds of shit like that. Speaking of fish finders, I bought a fish finder, a hook, Lowrance hook for fish finder. So already I'm like with the $100 paddles, $100 for the PFD, which is a personal flotation device. I had to buy a wetsuit. I got into this thing heavily, and I got really hooked fast. I bought the wetsuit. By the time it was all said and done, I had probably spent $2,000 on this kayak, and I loved it so much. Went out as much as I could. Took me a long time before I finally caught a fish, but I went out to the Alameda Rock Wall. They were fishing for halibut, and I went out there and tagged along with this guy. I had been fishing and fishing and fishing, and no fish. I'm thinking, God, all I ever got was crab on this thing. Am I ever going to catch a fish? So I went out to the Alameda Rock Wall the first time, tagged along with this old retired Coast Guard guy. His name is Martian Fish on the forums. I don't know his real name. He's a nice old guy, retired Coast Guard guy, and he let me follow along with him and tag along. And this other guy on the forums taught me how. I didn't even know how to bait a hook. I went and bought some live anchovies from behind Skoma's in San Francisco at Fisherman's Wharf. Bought a 5-gallon bucket of live anchovies, which if I'd have had this live well, they would have kept them alive. But I just put them in a 5-gallon bucket with an aerator, and they were pretty much dying, really, like almost instantly. Like within an hour, they were probably, losing their life. So I tagged along, and this other guy, Ariel, I asked him how to bait a hook, because I didn't even know how to bait a hook for catching halibut. And he said, well, you're using the wrong rig. Here, I'll let you use one of my leaders. And then he showed me how to bait it. So I went out with the old man, retired Coast Guard guy, and we fished and fished and fished, and I caught a bunch of small little halibuts, and finally I caught a huge halibut. It was like, well, huge. It was like 23, 24 inches. It was legal. Fought like a son of a bitch, and I got my first fish, and boy was I way into it. I felt such a weight off my back, and I got hooked. I've been going since then, I've been trying to go out almost every weekend, and it's so much fun. And the one time I went out, there are all these guys with Hobie kayaks. They were, hold on, I need to take a sip of this fine Tecate. I'm paddling and paddling, and when you're trying to hold a rod and paddle, it's kind of difficult to do. And but I saw these other guys in Hobie kayaks, and those are pedal powered. So you has a drive, and you go with pedals, and their hands are free. They can fish, and they can eat or take a sip of drink or whatever. If every time I would stop and either bait my hook, or if I had a fish on and pulled it off, I would drift. I would get pushed back because of the wind, and I'd lose ground where I was going. And these other guys were like getting to where they wanted to go like really fast, and this was about 2 months ago, and I had the kayak for the Wilderness Systems for, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a little bit more. I just said, I need to get me one of these Hobies. Those things are where it's at. So I talked about it on Mad at Dad with Dave Slusher and put it out there to the universe. If you believe in the secret, I just put it out there, and I posted on the Facebook universe, please buy me one of these Hobie kayaks. And I'll be damned, a week later, I had a new kayak, a Hobie. I went out and test drove. I was trying to decide between the Hobie Revolution 13 or the Outback. I went and test drove both of them at this kayak place in Oakland, and I decided that I like the Outback better. It is it's 12.5 feet long. It's a lot more stable, and it's got all these things on the side where you can put your gear, and it's got a pre-drilled mount for the fish finder. And I'll be damned if I didn't buy the thing. And since then, I've been going out. The first time I took this thing out, there was a halibut and striper fishing tournament in San Pablo Bay. And I went and got the thing on the way to, it was like a camping thing that the Kayak Anglers group was putting on. You could camp in the parking lot of this marina. It's only for the kayakers. And they were going to have a fishing tournament. And the winner would win $500 for the biggest fish. And so I went out and bought this thing, brought it, first trip, went out, fished my ass off, caught a 24-inch halibut, and that 24-inch halibut turned out to be the biggest fish of the day, and I won $500. I had just spent $2,500 for this Hobie kayak and won $500. So that helped offset the cost a little bit. I've been out, I don't know, 3 times in this kayak so far, and I have to say, I am loving it. I'm looking at it right now. It's yellow. What else to say about it? I mounted the fish finder on it. I haven't done any modifications to this one yet, but I plan on it. Well, I did put these track things on the side so you can mount like ram mounts, like these balls you can put the fish finder on. You can put a rod holder on one of them. Yeah, that's it. I'm really enjoying this thing, and needless to say, I'm hooked on kayaking, friends. I am hooked. And I'm mostly hooked on the fishing aspect of kayaking. I don't really have any desire to go out into a kayak and go down the rapids or anything like that. I just like going out and fishing, and you're out in the ocean, you're like right on level with the ocean. You're maybe 9 inches above the water. You're right there in it, man. And it is so much fun. Yes, people have warned me about sharks, but I have not run across any yet. I have run across some seals who have been pretty aggressive. I've not seen any whales, but there are videos of whales coming near kayaks and seals pushing kayaks around. And one guy got his kayak eaten by a great white shark, and it was in Monterey, and I went down last week to Monterey and fished and caught a bunch of rockfish, which were, by the way, were fantastically delicious. I have not been able to go fishing this weekend because I had butler gigs and I had to work this morning, so I'm kind of bummed about that. But I'm standing here looking at this kayak, and man, I love it. This is you hear it? It's made of plastic, made of like polyethylene plastic, but boy do I love this thing. I love both of them. Still have both of them. I think I'm just going to hold on to both of them, and maybe if my friend Shiaki or somebody wants to come out with me, they can come out. I think Shiaki's afraid to go out. A lot of my friends are afraid to take these things out in the ocean, but I love it. You can take them in the lake too. That's a lot easier, but there's something about being out in the ocean where it's blowing and the current's going, and I like saltwater fish a lot better. I like the taste of saltwater fish a lot better than freshwater fish, so it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I am hooked on kayaking, friends. I'm going to make myself a live well with this Atwood 500 gallons per hour recirculating live well cartridge aerator kit once I figure out how to do it and get back out there. I'm hoping to go out next week, I guess. All right, that's going to do it for me. I spun the wheel. Actually, I did not spin the wheel today on the iTunes. I'm actually going to San Ramon. I'm doing fill-in bass duties for a Joan Jett tribute band, and I'm a huge Joan Jett fan. And I like this girl, Karen Alvarez, who's playing the Joan Jett part. She's a cool girl, and she's got good attitude. I mean, I'm looking forward to doing it. I have not learned all the songs, so I need to get back out in my office and try to bang out some of these songs so I don't come completely unprepared. So that's what I'm going to play for you today. I'm going to play you a Joan Jett tune. Thank you for listening, friends. I'll talk to you on Monday, tomorrow, with day 8 of the Dog Days of Podcasting. I hope this was not too boring for you. I know it's windy out here, but hope you are okay with this. But here's Joan Jett. We will talk to you tomorrow.